Here is my bicycle. I made this bike by working with engineers at the local bicycle co-op. I got this frame from the lead bicycle engineer at the bike co-op, Mark. He gave it to me from his stowaway, his storage of old, really cool frames. This is a 1971 Rally record. Kind of a low-end frame at the time of manufacturing, but it's made of steel and it's strong. And it's really cool color, black and yellow. Kind of looks like a bumblebee. Got a lot of the black going on to make the touch-ups look nice. And I have some silver parts, but I just needed to because I'm using it and building things out of recycled materials, or just whatever is available to me. So yeah, I got the fork and the frame from Mark, and then we built everything up from there. I got the neck from the co-op, the handlebars from the co-op, the brakes from the co-op, the housing for the brake lines and the shifting lines. I got the brake cables and the brake cables and the shift cables from the co-op. I got the pedals from another bike at the co-op. I got the crank set from the co-op itself. And I also got the brakes from the co-op and these little caps that go on the brake ends. I paid for the tires from Mark because he's a bike engineer on the side, and the shifters I got from Mark. I got the bar tape from Mark. I got the new chain from Mark. I got the bottom bracket axle and bearings and such from Mark, and then I got the bearings actually from the co-op, from spare parts, and we packed the bearings in there. Mark also got me this cassette deck for my gears and the derailleur. I bought this saddle from Brooks, England, who makes handmade leather saddles. I don't want any cushioning on my saddle because it puts too much pressure on all my underside parts, and it creates long-term sores and could be pain. Who knows what could happen if my skin has a lot of friction going on there too much and there's too much pressure from the padding. So I'm just using a hard leather saddle, just like people would do when they're riding horses or riding donkeys or other such things. You know, it's just straight up protects you from the forces of bouncing up and down the road and trails and everything. So I chose the Brooks saddle, brand new, spent the money on it. It's quite expensive, but I think it's worth it. Other than that, man, I haven't paid for a whole lot on this bike. I've probably invested $150, $170 on all of the parts for the bike, and the saddle costs probably about that much actually, $160. My helmet costed more than the entire bike put together. And these bags, I got this top trunk bag from Mark, the engineer. This pannier bag and the pannier bag on the other side, as well as these front pannier bags right here. They're gonna go on this front pannier rack that I'll be getting online. And I got a back pannier rack from Mark. It fits this exact trunk bag. That's why he gave me the trunk bag for free. Because I bought the frame right here, the pannier frame rack, and this bag just literally like slides on and off and connects to this thing, so it works pretty cool. I have a backpacking backpack as well, right here, and I was thinking about laying it across the back and tying it down, along with all this other stuff, which could give me extra storage. It's gonna be a little bit of heavier load, and putting all that weight on the back could really weigh down like my weight a lot, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of willing to go on with a full load. I'll start off with something small my first journey, but yeah, we'll see. This trunk bag has a pannier bag that comes out. So I'm gonna have this small pannier bag and this small pannier bag turning into pretty much a large pannier. I bought the tires from Mark as well. The inner tubes came from these other tires. Inner tubes kind of old, probably, and all this stuff is kind of old. So we'll see how everything rides. You know, it's just all made of recycled parts. And I gotta give this a little bit of a thorough cleaning with some alcohol, get all the grease off of everything. But essentially, this bike is rideable. You know, the bottom bracket of my bike needs to be switched out because my chain won't go up to this gear. The derailleur won't push it that far out, so I have to get a smaller axle that's like not as long, so that the derailleur can push the chain up onto this gear. Yeah, I connected an old seat post to this saddle, and so my saddle is connected to recycled parts as well. And yeah, essentially just this whole thing, I just planned on getting the cheapest bike I could to get out on my first journey as a bicycle tourist, and really just not a bicycle tourist, but more of a person who just doesn't have a home. And my home is Earth. I am practicing my innermost values and my personal connection with nature, and I call myself a forest monk. It's kind of a path that I discovered for myself, and my buddy Grant and I both see ourselves on similar paths as forest monks, and we've chosen to kind of design our paths for ourselves. So like for me, I just want to be a forest monk that engages in forest regeneration and overall forest facilitation over the longest term on a community scale. Because to an extent, I need to be able to live in the woods and make observations of forests and stay out in forests long periods of time, and in a lot of ways that's kind of like what a monk would do. And I'm doing it for all of humanity and all life on earth, as well as myself. So I'm practicing something in a very serious way, and monks do that as well. So I've always been fascinated with monkhood and priesthood and other such things in different religions. I've always seen myself as someone who is like that, who's in service of a community level issue. And I would like to service the landscapes of Earth and people's overall well-being with myself living out in the woods and being a role model of how it feels to be a part of nature and connecting with nature, and building my own emotional and logical patterns in life while adapting to nature patterns and observing them more often, becoming someone who's very aware of what's going on in the environment day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, so that I can gain data and awareness for the overall forest industry and service the forest industry by being a forester who's out observing landscapes, and also servicing the community and educating people just about how trees work, silvics, the general characteristics of trees and their habits and how the environment influences them. I want to be able to explain all that to people through silvics and doing Earth's Trees, my project on going and working on making videos for individual tree species and creating an overall audiovisual library that we can engage in to learn about tree species, to be able to manage and plant trees in contexts all over the world. So I'll be traveling on bike to be able to document these trees and live out in the woods documenting trees, living my own life as Jacob, myself, and then also building this characterized artistic version of what I see myself as, called Edaphic, and Edaphic the Adventurer, or Edaphic, or Eda. And I have Silvics Forestry and Nursery as kind of my principal technical practice, my aspects of being a forester or a land regenerator or earth maintenance crew member. You know, I am a maintenance crew of Earth, Mothership Earth. So I am going to go maintenance and show people how we can maintenance with low income so that we can focus on non-economical values such as survival and life in a lot of ways, to regenerate plants and forests